Law, the ultimate protocol of Amphorius, and the back door that our geniuses along with Zandar are fighting over. And in the end, one side won. This is just one of the mysteries that we will be diving into today, because this reset means far more than simply resetting Amphorius again, and even after understanding Zandar and the events of 3.5, there are many questions that still linger that I have yet to mention. For example, why does Lygus understand absolutely nothing about his creations? What's going on with Danheng? What law did Cerydra sacrifice herself to change, and how will this cycle be different from all of the others? Well, those are the questions that I intend on answering today, because there are a lot of things that happened in 3.5 that give us a peek into what the 33,550,338th cycle will look like. And I believe that these hints reveal what Zandar's true weaknesses actually are. So this video will be a little bit of clearing up some details, along with diving into the mind of a man who created a mechanical god that he can no longer control. Because this is the hidden secrets of Deliverance Explained. Okay, so let's start off where the questions begin, shall we? What law did Cerydra give her life to change? Because Cyrene herself says that the law she changed was unknown. And she's not exactly wrong, it is unknown to her. You see, when we went to the banquet to spy on Cerydra and Lygus, we get caught and Lygus crashes out and sends us to the exomyth. But what if I told you that this was a huge mistake from Lygus? Because even though he got rid of the trump card, he forgot about the chronocognitive anchor that was in the hands of Cerydra when we got exiled. Meaning that during the 1,000-year gap, she still had access to Herta and Screwum. So after witnessing the futility of fighting against the force that is Zandar 1 Quabra, she placed her trust into the only ones that gave him pause, the two geniuses possessing power from beyond the sky. So as she became the demigod of law in the vortex of Genesis with the world crumbling around them, she gave her life to make one change to the law, or should I say, ultimate protocol. And this rule ended up transferring ownership from her to the geniuses, while quite possibly stopping the one death, one rule change stipulation. And this is really clever, because there is no possible way that Lygus would know about this, because Cerydra made sure not to tell anyone what the rule change was. And the reason why we know this is from a memory fragment pre-recording that Herta left us as we came back to Amphorius. Now, I didn't know what to make of this as I was playing it, but now that all is said and done, it all makes sense now. Because Herta gives it to us straight and just says, thanks to the little Empress granting us access to the ultimate protocol, Screwy and I rewrote the progress of Era Nova while you were away, which is why the progress went from 99% completion to 96, which is also why the reset is possible and doesn't allow Iron Tomb to awaken. And also, through Cerydra giving the geniuses the ultimate protocol, they saw that this reset is actually required, because Iron Tomb is tweaking so hard that they still can't really get in. But through the cycle reset process of Era Nova, Iron Tomb's vulnerabilities open up, meaning that as the world resets, Herta and Screwum are going to be able to break Iron Tomb from the inside and run amok. So this whole deal with trapping Zandar in the exomyth was a two-part plan with two different win conditions. Being able to overload Zandar's mind with calculations by using time and memories as a weapon was only phase 1. Phase 2 begins as Era Nova descends once more. So to correct myself in a previous video, this law that Cerydra ended up changing was the factor that gave us the advantage we needed to stand on at least somewhat equal footing with Zandar and his
controlling algebraic expressions.
But this is still his world. Zandar has been manipulating Iron Tomb for centuries, possibly even millennia by now, which raises the question, why is it that we are constantly able to gain the trust of the Chrysoseirs as Lygus utterly fails? That is the entire reason why Cerydra trusted Herta and Screwum with the authority of law, after all. And when you think about it, Zandar wrote the code for each and every single one of the Chrysoseirs in Amphorius, and he even based them off of the concept of Pathstriders in reality with the goal of killing their respective gods. It's kinda Zandar's sick fantasy. But that's not all, because Zandar has coded them with such detail in mind that Anaxa is loosely based off of himself. Think about it. Not only does Anaxa hate Circes and wish to disprove them as much as Zandar hates Noose and wishes to disprove Noose, but they also have the same speech patterns.
You may shackle me and put me in chains, but I have thousands of ways to ensure the destruction's descent. And what I just mentioned is only one out of those thousands.
I've got no idea how to outwit a reclusive genius. But making an anti-Catherian suffer? The demigod of reason has 10,000 ways to do just that. And what I just mentioned was one of them.
Which is probably why he's the most impressed with him. It's kinda narcissistic. But you would think that no one would know these people better and how to manipulate them than the guy who designed them. Not to mention that he has retained his memory through the 33,550,336 cycles of the same exact characters, meaning that he should have perfected data of how they think and what they do. Castellana even had their actions memorized, and even counted the amount of times that they did what they did and if they said certain things, where they would lead. So why does he utterly fail to gain their trust? Well, it's rather simple. Just like Zandar's motivation to kill Noose, he is entirely self-absorbed to such an extent that literally nothing but his own will matters. He may be a genius that understands
Tarzane algebraic expressions,
but he is so inept at understanding people that he is incapable of even retaining simple concepts that he himself created. For example, Cerydra is known for two things, being short and hating flattery, something that Lygus incessantly does, which leads to the situation he found himself in at the banquet. Because if you think about it, this situation should be reversed. He should have the trust of all of the Chrysos heirs, and we should be fighting to even get a word in. But since Zandar's charisma stat is so low that he sparks distrust every time he opens his mouth, even though he wrote their code, how bad do your social skills have to be to create people and still not understand them after 33,550,336 cycles worth of interactions? And even when he's not interacting with them directly, he's watching them from the exomyth. He knows their code, he knows their pattern, he knows them inside and out, yet he still fails. And what if I told you that he tells us why this is? Because not only does he show us the exomyth to show us how he views the Chrysos heirs, but he is also an isolationist in the most extreme way possible, referring to his thousands of years of solitude as a friend that helps him think. And I hate Lygus, but that's kinda sad. That's literally hello darkness, my old friend. But he thinks for some reason that that is a strength. And on the contrary, we've seen it quite literally isn't, because if he was just a tad bit more of a human, he would have turned the Chrysos heirs against us and won easily. He has home field advantage, he met them before we did, and he has the exomyth. He has every reason in the book to gain the trust of the Chrysos heirs, and we really have nothing to work with but being charming? Which, on a side note, is another way he is polar opposite from Herta. I swear, this whole story is drawing a comparison between Lygus and Herta, because Herta's main strength is being able to ally with other geniuses to get things done. And Zandar himself describes Amphorius as a microcosm of the universe, and Herta already has her simulated universe. They're both kinda doing the exact same thing. It's just that Lygus is trying to destroy the universe and Herta just wants to learn about it. And since we're on the topic of looking into people's psyches, I want to address something real quick about Herta, because her behavior is pretty telling too. And through this experience, we've kinda seen Herta a little shaken emotionally by the realization that this is Zandar. And you can see this by the way that she refers to him. When she first meets him at the banquet, she calls him senior society member. When she's in the vortex, she calls him first genius. And in the exomyth, she calls him Zandar. Now, the reason why this is significant is because Herta doesn't call people senior society member or any kind of honorific. Otherwise, both Ruanmei and Screwlum would be her senior society members. In fact, when teased about her number being ranked higher than the others, she retorts back by saying that the numbers mean absolutely nothing but the order in which they joined, and she says that she won't be provoked so easily. Yet she calls Zandar first genius, even though by this point she knows exactly who he is. It even starts getting a little bit heated when asking him, why are you the one doing this? I don't know about you guys, but I sensed a bit of betrayal here. It's like, this is the one genius we see Herta going out of her way to show respect to. But by the end of this, she's just calling him by name like everyone else. And I think this is because she's lost respect for him. And that's kind of sad. Never meet your heroes. But anyway, Herta Tangent over. Back to the exomyth, because I think it is due to all of this that she sounds so excited when she gets to 2v1 Zandar, where Zandar makes yet another miscalculation and states that Amphorius is where 3 Aeons fight to the death, not considering that this third path also hates his guts and wants him gone. Which brings us to Evernight and Danheng. Now, to answer the question, where is Danheng? Some say that he never left Amphorius, but what if I told you that this isn't necessarily Amphorius? In fact, we know this place, but it isn't where you think it is. Because in reality, this is the fake vortex of Genesis that Lygus stopped Herta in when he first met her. We know this because none of the core flames in the vortex are lit up. So we know that this is the place from before. So he's kinda in Amphorius, but kinda not. Also, since this place isn't necessarily Amphorius, it's very likely that this fake vortex place is also susceptible to time dilation. So him interrogating Evernight took basically the entire patch, and Danheng likely has no idea what's been going on in the actual Amphorius. And how he got here? I think Lygus tricked him and he got stuck here. Because truth is, you probably need the Garden of Recollection to get in or out. Because Black Swan is the only reason why we made it in, and Evernight is the only reason we escaped the exomyth. So if I had to guess, Evernight is going to either help him get out of this place, or we'll send him back to Amphorius after the reset. Because Zandar is right about attracting the attention of 3 paths, it's just that 2 of the 3 are utterly ticked at him. And judging by how he thinks, odds are he probably doesn't know that he has ticked off the garden too. Because otherwise, he would know that Evernight is working in tandem with the geniuses. So in this way, Zandar has stacked the deck against himself, and as this world resets once again, his prized Iron Tomb is being cracked open, cleaving off even more of what little advantage he has left. So I imagine 3.6, Zandar will be even more savage and desperate than he has ever been before. Because he says himself that being directly involved makes things chaotic and messy. And I'm sure he's got more tricks up his robotic sleeves. He may be socially inept and chronically creepy, but he is still a genius on his home turf. He may be outnumbered with the walls closing in on him from all sides, but this only makes him take more drastic measures. But I still believe that we will come out on top, because his isolationist viewpoint of life is his true weakness, and he will never gain the trust of the Chrysos heirs, and we will always win due to the power of friendship, because this is a Hoyo game, and this is the hidden secrets of Deliverance explained. After breaking down this story in the first video, I looked back over it and I realized that I missed some things, so I just wanted to take the time to analyze what I glossed over. Because though some of these details are small and even psychological, they are the keys for looking into what is to come. And in the videos I have planned, these details and inferences are what I will be working off of. And I think things are going to go off the rails in the next update due to the fact that half the scenes in the Before Their Deaths trailer didn't happen. So they gotta happen at some point. We will have our Avengers Assemble moment. And this next era Nova is where it all begins. But what do you guys think? Be sure to let me know, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace, y'all.